Namaste, everyone. Welcome to the Pranic Healing Podcast. Today we have Dr. Prashant G. Dr. Prashant is a medical doctor, a musician. He's also a certified pranic healer, a senior instructor for the Institute for Inner Studies, and he lives in Europe and travels across many countries around Europe teaching pranic healing classes. And today we are going to talk about pranic healing and the chakral system. So welcome, Dr. Prashant.
Hi, Jason. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Prashant, for being on with the time zone difference between the East Coast of the United States and Europe. So I know that we were trying to get things scheduled, but I'm so happy to have you on because you do offer a wealth of information for everyone. And I just wanted to, ask this with every guest. I know I give you a short introduction, but is there anything else you want to tell our audience about you? Maybe a fun fact or something else that I didn't mention?
Fun fact. Well, I crack a lot of jokes when I travel a lot. I listen to a lot of things. Well,
okay.
I think I enjoy doing what I'm doing. And meeting people,
that's very important.
People, teaching people. It brings a lot of joy for me.
Okay, that's beautiful. And I think that's very much the most important part, especially in the field that you're doing, teaching pranic healing. So that's awesome. And keep up with the cracking jokes because we'll need it in this podcast because we need a little bit more humor. The feedback is we don't have enough jokes. So you're going to be our, you're going to start us off with a bang. So our topic today is about pranic healing and the chakra system. So I know you're an expert in that because you've been teaching pranic healing for how many years now? I think a long time, right?
15 years plus.
15 years. Oh my goodness. Almost 2 decades. So Dr. Prashant, what is the chakral system in pranic healing and why is it so special?
Master Choa Koksui, the founder, I think when he started, it was all natural for him about energy, about prana, about chakras. But when he realized that not everybody understands the function of how healing happens in the body, he had to break it down. And that's how I think he started talking about the anatomy of the energy body. And one of the major factors that allows the energy field exist within the human realm are the chakras. Master calls them the power plants of the energy body. That means they are something that can absorb prana from the surrounding. The chakras can assimilate and store that prana. They can even digest that prana, process it, and then distribute it further to the different organ systems of the body. It's quite an intelligent structure.
Very much so. Yes, I love that response because you and me being both medical doctors, we know the physiology of the physical organs, but it's so interesting. Just the same with the law of correspondence. Energetically, we have these energetic organs that very much do the very similar things, but just on a different level. So thank you for explaining that. And I guess my next question would be, with these chakral systems, pranic healing is a little bit different than, say the mainstream like 7 chakral system, right? Where it's just 7, but pranic healing, there seems to be a little bit more. Can you explain to the audience why is there more? Is it better, or why is there 11 or 12 and things like that?
We have to understand that the chakras existed even before Master Choa Koksui introduced pranic healing, right? Of course, there is something called the ancient healing system or the ancient pranic healing school, which was not probably called pranic healing back then, right? But Master Choa calls it pranic healing today. But before Master introduced the 11 major chakras, everybody was popular with 7 major chakras, right? But if you study some of the Indian texts, then you also see that there are hundreds of chakras mentioned. And and there are hundreds of beings or deities assigned to these chakras. And there is a book where all the chakras and the meridians are even pictographically represented in the body.
Wow.
But what,
Amazing.
yeah, it's very, very vast. But what Master Choa did was he defined the major functional chakras, which if one understands, studies, and knows, then can fix almost all body related problems.
Hmm.
The genius
Wow.
of Master Choa was he went beyond that. He said, okay, it's not just about energy and the human body, but he associated every chakra with the psychological function. That means all of these 11 chakras, Master, in the course called Pranic Psychotherapy, introduces the psychological functions.
Wow. Excellent.
So it's a beautiful elaboration of these chakras. So the old understanding that there are only 7 chakras was a fact because people were only developed to understand 7 chakras.
Right.
And it was also easy because they were associated with the different glandular systems that we have.
Systems. Yes. Yeah,
So,
it's very interesting. It's sort of like how Master Choa also says there's many layers of truth, right? You can have one broader layer of truth that is very encompassing, just like you and I are both on planet Earth. That's one layer of truth, but we're both on different continents in different countries, so that still separates us. But all in all, we're still in one, this planet. So it's a very, like you mentioned, there's hundreds of different chakras in the meridian systems, and me coming from an acupuncture background with the acupuncture points and the channels too, it's very similar. So thank you for that explanation. And I guess my next question, Dr. Prashant, is that you teach pranic healing. So you teach basic pranic healing, advanced pranic healing, psychotherapy, all these classes. So, and you mentioned about the point of pranic healing and Master Choa, how it developed it was not only to heal the physical body, but the psychological functions of the body too, the psychological health. So how does that work? How is pranic healing able to do this with the chakra system?
Now, it all starts with the simple concept that mind over matter, right? If you mind, then it matters. If you don't mind, nothing matters. In a way.
That's a good one.
Right? But for example, one of the popular chakras that everybody today knows is located in the abdominal region, which is known as the solar plexus. Right?
Solar plexus.
Now, solar plexus is often described in even non-pranic healing areas as a center for stress or anxiety. People feel butterflies before their exams. People start to feel anxious in their belly before they meet an interviewer, or they are waiting and anxious for some results, right? So there is this center here right under the chest called the solar plexus. Now, the solar plexus also is medically, if you see, connected to the vagus nerve.
Yes.
Exactly,
the vagus
here.
nerve.
The vasovagal responses that people have, the shock responses, right?
Right.
So there are cases of people who have had fatal experiences because of, say, a sudden anxious episode or information or news coming to them.
Right.
That actually starts here.
And they just like faint and lose consciousness for a little bit and fall over. Yeah.
Exactly. Or sometimes even fatalistic episodes.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, the solar plexus predominantly controls the organs in the abdomen here, the liver, the pancreas, the digestive system, right? But it also maintains the heating, cooling response of the body, like the internal thermostat. Now, if we relate it to that, heating and cooling, when I am peaceful, I feel cool inside. When I'm angry, I have a heated experience either inside or outside.
Or outside. Yes.
Now, this is where we can relate it to the psychology of a person.
Hmm.
So, Masachua talks about the solar plexus chakra as the center for lower emotions, especially anger, irritation, fear, anxiety, tension, trauma, and all those energies which one gets agitated with,
Right.
right? But there are also positive lower emotions like courage or confidence or
Mm.
at a lower scale. For example, no, I want to
Right.
do this. Okay, so that
Right. Willpower. Yes.
yeah, that
Perseverance. Hmm.
that you feel that no,
Yes.
I will do it. I want it. Okay, that
Mm.
will energy of emotion, the feeling,
Mm.
the commitment towards developing myself is also in the solar plexus. It's a beautiful system. I think that every individual should study the chakra system.
Hmm.
Now, in the basic pranic healing book, Master Choa already correlates the acupuncture side of.
Yes, he does.
He talks about the different points between the movement of energy, which is inside and outside,
Inside
right?
and outside.
So he
Yes.
talks about certain body parts where the energy moves in and out of the system,
Mm.
and that appears as a influx and an outgoing energy, and that
Mm.
represents itself as a whirling center or a vertex,
Right. Right.
which is
And that's exactly in Sanskrit. Isn't that the word definition? A whirling
yeah.
wheel or cycle or
Like
wheel?
in Sanskrit, the chakra
Yes.
means a wheel,
Ah.
right? Like some
Great.
people can be called chakrams. They are constantly
Ah.
moving, or they cannot be in one place, right?
Got it. Got it. That's like me right now.
Yeah,
Constantly
or me
moving.
too.
Yes, right. Especially you, and on a bigger scale, crossing countries every weekend.
Yes.
Thank you. I love that explanation because it again it connects both the you started with the physical, with the digestive organs, its functions, its physiology, with the solar plexus, but then really it goes deeper, like you said, into the emotions. The solar plexus can be known for lower emotions like anger, like when you're stressed, anxiety, but also positive emotions like courage, willpower, determination. Which all of us, we need a balance of both.
Yeah.
And it's very, eloquently described because it's like you said, it's an inflow where you receive energy, receive emotions, receive physiological nutrients, and outflow where you, give out energy from each of these centers. And then on the same course, I know pranic healing, we do things that optimize the health of these chakras. We do certain techniques, if you will. Without describing the exact technique, how is pranic healing as a modality able to heal, quote unquote, heal these chakras or people's health issues?
Yeah. Since Master Choa explored to the length and breadth of understanding the energetic anatomy of man or a human, he came up with the understanding that how do these diseases manifest, right? And in his discoveries, he realized that the energy field, which is the aura, has the first influx of disease. And then eventually slowly comes in, and then starts malfunctioning these chakras. And when the chakra starts to malfunction and they circulate not so good energy, the organ starts to malfunction. And that is when we diagnose medically as a disease or something. But till then, the human has been already experiencing the disease
Right.
internally. For example,
Internally.
sometimes I feel not so good about myself. Say, I am not approving about something about me. I am sad about it. I reject myself, right? It's an internal emotion. It's an internal thought. Externally, I dress well. Everybody thinks I am good, for example, right? Now, what happens again? Let's talk about the solar plexus. That is where I harbor this emotion constantly, right? The first response is I do not feel I must eat or drink or indulge in something that will make my body stronger. So we lose appetite, we lose interest in meeting people, we do not want to engage in more explorative activities, right? I lose that feeling, good feeling within myself. And eventually, the power or chi of my liver diminishes, pancreas diminishes, stomach diminishes, and then I feel weak physically. Now, the other reactions are either the acid levels goes up, down because of improper diet, improper sleep, improper eating. Then I still have those emotions that I'm harboring. Plus, I have now physical factors, right? So the same energy center, but it has now so many levels of or layers of functionality affected by myself. Now, in pranic healing, if you go to a healer, the healer can heal all of these physical, energetic, emotional, psychological, all at the same time. We use certain techniques called cleansing, energizing, and there are many, many different types of cleansing techniques. And when that is applied, you can, with intention, either clean the organs or the psyche of the person. And that is how we help people with depression. We help people with anxiety disorders, eating disorders, personality disorders. It's possible
Wow.
to, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing because all of these, like you mentioned, going back to the beginning, the energetic health or quality is sort of almost like the blueprint of the physical body's health. And you mentioned disease first manifests on the energetic level and then sort of trickles down into the mental, the emotional, and then the physical. So it's very interesting nowadays because in medicine, it's becoming more and more integrative, where that doctors are looking not just at like a person's digestive organ, they might look at their like you said, their emotional health in relation to their digestive health, because that's very much connected, and other systems. So it's very, very exciting because I think that always medicine is catching up, science is always catching up, but the body is becoming more of not just separate system, but one whole system with multiple, subsystems that are, interconnected. And sometimes, medicine, it just focuses on one. So I loved how you explained that there are, again, certain techniques that we do to clean and optimize all of these systems at the same time, right? From the energetic all the way down to the physical. So that's amazing. Do you have any like cases or things that you've worked on people that kind of highlight this function? You don't have to mention their names, but is there any case that comes up to your mind that really shows like, oh, wow, this person had a physical problem, but it was really their emotions or their thoughts or their energy that was more of the root cause, right? Because in medicine, we always want to correct that root cause and everything else will fix itself.
So true.
Yeah.
I have always been a seeker to find the truth behind something, right? Or anything. And in that, there was one case of a lady with a back pain. And
back pain, very common.
Yeah, common, right? It's quite common. So she has tried all kinds of therapies and finally came to me thinking I could help her. And I heard her story. She's already in her late 60s and she has two children. And yeah, she goes from doctor to doctor, expert to expert, finding cure for her back pain. And it has also hampered her left hip, and she cannot walk easily. So I said, maybe you need chiropractic treatment or something, fixing, your mobility.
Yes.
So anyway, I started healing her,
Mm-hmm.
and I found, of course, her solar plexus the most affected energy system in the chakras. So I spent a lot of time in that, and I felt that her heart was very small. Her energy center, which controls bones and muscles, was also affected. So I treated all of that. And after a sincere 20 minutes long treatment, no change.
Ah,
She
yes.
didn't feel nothing, right? Okay. I said, we believe in something called lag time, right? The body takes a little bit more time than the energy that is being given to you. So we give them a little time for it to be absorbed and let the body experience the healing. So I told her, let's wait for a day and see. She came back the next day. Same story. Nothing changed. Right? So I said, what is the real problem? You think, what is the real problem? So this lady looked at me and she said, nobody asked me this question. I said, do you have an answer? She said, yes. I come to you so that I can talk to you.
To talk to you.
So I said, why didn't you tell that to me yesterday? I would have happily talked to you than just heal, heal, heal. Right? Then I asked her, how many people are there in your life, right? Who all are part of your life. And that led to several discoveries where she is lonely. Although she has everyone, she is lonely and sad. Now, why am I sharing this story? Is because this chakra, the solar plexus, when is loaded with these emotions, these energies, even though I might be in a crowd, I can feel isolated and lonely, like this woman, right? So I said, then what about this pain? No, that pain will never go, she told me. Then I realized that that is another strong idea which she has held within her, that this is incurable or inseparable from her, and she will die with it. Okay. So I spoke to her. I think we spent more than an hour just talking about her life. After that, I healed her. And in the healing, I gave her some affirmations of loving herself, forgiveness towards herself, some suggestive practices. She cried a lot. And then she said she felt like a crack, a sound in her hip, and then she could move without limping on the hip. Okay.
Wow.
I didn't believe her, me being
Right.
medical from the medical
Yes.
background. I'm like, okay, let's see. She came for the third session, fourth session, and I really saw her walk fast, climb the stairs faster. Now, we would again talk for 20 minutes and then heal, right? I figured out that I need to involve her family in her treatment. So I called her sons. After she left that day, I spoke to the sons and I told them that maybe out of your busy schedules, can you spend 5 minutes knowing her a little bit more? I did not see her for several months. Then I went to a wedding This was all in Mumbai, okay, when I used to live in Mumbai. And in the wedding,
Wow.
I see her dancing with the bride and groom, right?
Really?
So,
Wow.
yeah,
And you didn't know she was going to be there.
yeah, no, I had no clue.
Wow.
I was like, oh, wow. And she was really moving, very flexible, no back pain, right? With
Mm,
people with back pain, they would not be dancing like this woman.
right.
Then she dashed into me and she was so excited. And she said, you did this to me. I said, why did you never come back and give me feedback? Or at least we
Hmm.
could have celebrated.
Hmm.
No, there was no need for her, right? Of course, she had no answer to give me,
Hmm.
but I understood from her
Hmm.
facial expression there was no need to come back because her children, her grandchildren, her family started involving her in so many things that this feeling of not wanted, not important,
Hmm.
unwanted feeling, all of that disappeared. The pain
Wow.
disappeared. The problems disappeared.
That's amazing.
I was
Wow.
excited to see that.
Very much so. Oh my goodness. Thank you for sharing that wonderful story. I mean, it's just so serendipitous how you didn't see her for months and then go to a wedding and there she is dancing on the floor, you know. That's amazing. And I think your story really highlights a couple of amazing points, right? First of all, people come to us sometimes with very common problems like lower back pain, and like you said, when we, as medical doctors, okay, maybe you should see something like a professional that works on your physical body, right? Because it's a lower back problem. But what's special, being pranic healers, we have the ability to scan or to check, the energy centers and work on them to a certain degree, right?
Yeah.
And then there was that principle of something that she was holding onto, and I liked how you mentioned it, that there was a thought form where she said, "Oh, this back pain will never go away." And as healers, we know if our client, our patient, has that thought form, it doesn't matter how much we do. It's only how much they're willing to receive and let go at the same
Exactly.
time that determines their healing. So, I think that was very important. But it's amazing because your story almost kind of reminded me of you're a medical doctor, you're a pranic healer, but it also sounded like you were a family counselor at the same time. And that call to the children is what made the difference in healing that emotional body part of her. So that's amazing. And again, it goes on through the different levels. You have the energetic, the mental, the emotional, and then down to the physical.
Yes.
So amazing, amazing. All
One
right.
aspect that I would like to add is Master Chua spoke about the physical, energetic, and emotional psychological functions of the chakra. Later on, he also introduces the spiritual function of every chakra, right?
Mm,
So
yes.
there are people who like to become healers, but there are people who are
Hmm.
seeking more than just healing. They maybe are seeking spirituality, or they want to understand God from different aspects. And
Right.
Master offers courses like the spiritual essence of man, the meditation of the Lord's Prayer, and other courses where
Hmm.
he introduces the spiritual parts of or spiritual functioning of every chakra. It's beautiful.
Hmm.
Like this is another common chakra that people know, right? The crown chakra, which is located on the top of the head. Now, physically, it controls the brain and the function of the brain controlling the entire body. Okay,
Hmm.
energetically, there are 100 meridians. If you, as an acupuncturist, you know this. The point, there are
Yes.
100 pathways which pass all over the body by hui. So,
Exactly.
there are so many meridians connected to the crown chakra, which if you just clean and energize it, a lot of energy can just gush into the whole body.
Mm.
Psychologically, the crown chakra is also connected to all kinds of energies and thoughts and emotions and psychic energies which can get accumulated in the crown and stop the functioning of the crown or impair the function of the crown. So, in psychological healing, we take a lot of care in not just healing the solar plexus but also of the crown because it affects the brain, the thinking faculty, everything.
Exactly.
Spiritually, the crown is connected to intuition. And I think in this era where everybody is saying anything and everything that they want to say, we need to have stronger crown chakras, because if it is strong, then I am guided on my own to understand what I want to understand and to respond the right way. Right? So intuition should be developed for all. But of course, it takes years of practice to really, really follow the intuition. Everybody has an intuition, but we do not follow it easily. It takes time. Because
It takes time.
Because the other chakras are also there and they are loaded with other kinds of stuff. It's not just the crown that is there, right? So, but it's beautiful.
It's like little kids asking for attention. You know, which kid are you gonna pick? But I feel like the crown chakra is probably like the oldest sibling. You know, it knows the most, and all the other ones are more little like kids or babies. But exactly like you said, I loved how you mentioned there is that spiritual aspect part too that we haven't covered, which is another amazing part about pranic healing and Master Choa's development of the system, because it's so all encompassing. So yeah. And Dr. Prashant, I know we left off on the spiritual function and the intuition part of the crown chakra. I find that it is very important because nowadays, many people they react on emotions, right? They communicate via their emotions.
Yeah.
But it seems like the future is very mental too. Like we are doing a lot more research. It's all about science. It's all about quantum physics. It's all about these advancements in technology. But very, very much also we talk about intuition because it's not so well understood. How do you see people, just from a big picture perspective, seeing the world and humanity and people and society, how do you see people moving from being emotional to being more mental to eventually getting to that intuitional aspect part of their consciousness or acting on that? I think that's a very big question, because if you can, as we understand, if you can listen to learn to your intuition, things are just a little bit easier. You don't have to, walk into so many holes or so many obstacles or challenges.
Yeah, but it's true. Very good question, Jason, by the way. How will people reach there? The thing is that the promise of human evolution is that we will reach there. Now, when is a good question. Are we going to be there tomorrow? Some, yes, not everybody, because it takes a lot of time. And then evolution, like Master Choa says, evolution implies making a lot of mistakes and learning from the mistakes and then not repeating the same mistakes, right? So
right, there's that two stipulation. You gotta learn from the mistake, and then plus you cannot repeat it again. You can't just make mistakes and call it a day.
You can make another mistake, that's okay, but not the same thing, right?
Not the same one. Yes,
that's how we learn. Now, from being emotionally responsive to mentally responsive is already a big shift for so many people. So we cannot force it, okay? It cannot be forced because the human nature is like that. It has to grow on its own, right? But I think all the media and everything and all of this work that we are doing is somewhere pushing the world to that direction. For example, we all use gadgets today. We use iPhones and these kind of stuff, which use certain faculty of the human mind, which was not used, say, 30, 40 years ago, right? So even my grandmother and that kind of generation are now using iPads and iPhones because they want to communicate to their family, even though they need help with using all the optimum functions of those kind of gadgets. but at least they can do some minimum utilization, right? Now, the challenge with the youth of today is this is quite natural for them to be gadget oriented, but if they can shift from the lower emotional associations to a higher frequency faster, I think they will grow more. Then, like Master says, there are different levels of truth. When somebody says something, we must also look at, what are they saying? Which level of truth are they at? Okay, that is one level of truth. What is my level of truth? Is my level of truth including Jason's level of truth? Or is Jason's level of truth including my level of truth? Okay, so he is more inclusive. He has a different, bigger level of truth than mine. So this kind of understanding will reduce fights, will reduce differences, right? There will be greater harmony. Then probably spirituality will become reality all the time, right? So, yeah, but this shift is already happening, and these shifts are not always visible, right? But we cannot force it.
We cannot force it. Very, very well said, Dr. Prashant. I think it's so, part of pranic healing is so special because it is sort of the healing aspects opens the door to the spirituality aspect, right? It kind of gives more of the further underpinning the framework, the science around spirituality, which is very exciting because I think that, like you said, maybe people are not interested in the energy healing part, the health part, but more of the spiritual part, the spiritual truths and trying to find the purpose of life and things like that. And I find that Master Cho's work does offer, a path to there and more of a, scientific evidence-based path, which is very, very rare for any, let alone energy healing modality, but, any type of spiritual school. So that's amazing. And I loved our conversation, how we started to, talk about the basics of, the chakras and pranic healing and health and all the way to the spiritual aspect, because I think that at the end of the day, that is the point, that is the purpose of everything that we're doing, is to move forward and, like you said, raise our vibration, because it gets us closer to understanding the truth, to becoming aware of the truth. So
because
amazing.
that's who we are, right? We are spiritual beings having human experiences. So we have to have physical experience, energetic experience, emotional experience, mental experience, and hold on to that spirituality. But that spirituality is so invisible because the visible world camouflages everything. And when I surpass all of that, and I can keep my spiritual reality in every level. Oh, that's an amazing experience.
It is. It is. I like how you said the physical world camouflages the invisible world. You would think, it makes so much sense. So we definitely, and I think that definitely things are moving forward where we're becoming more aware of the invisible parts of ourselves.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. So thank you, Dr. Prashant.
Thank you.
Is there any last words of wisdom or advice? I know you're a teacher and you probably teach students. So if we were all your basic pranic healing students and we just graduated today, what one word of advice would you give us all to kind of, move forward in life and try to live a better life overall, to be a better person or a better healer, anything like that?
I think based on what we discussed today, the message that can be more meaningful is practice to look at different truths in life and don't be stuck with one level. Then probably ascending to the other person's reality or descending to our own reality or transcending to multiple realities at the same time is possible. Then there is no need to fight. There is no need to be upset too long. I'm not saying that you will not be angry, you will not get upset, or dejected, rejected, but do not stay too long in that, because there are different levels of truth and realities, and they all coexist simultaneously. Which one do we give importance to affects us the most?
Exactly. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Dr. Prashant. Dr. Prashant. Like you said, it's many layers of truth, and pranic healing is exploring, all these layers of truth at the same time, whether it's healing or meditation or spirituality. It really, affects it all. So, and I loved your explanation, just because, again, we have that ability to move higher or lower as needed to understand, that truth from that perspective. And if people practiced more of that, I think the world would be a much better place from where it is. So yes. So thank you so much, Dr. Prashant. I really appreciate your time and your wisdom on this podcast. I think that your teachings and your experiences really helped our audience. So, and we would definitely love to invite you back for most likely a part 2 in the future, right? We didn't include that many jokes, so we need to plan for some more next time, right? Together, but we'll get that on. But thank you so much to Dr. Prashant again, and namaste, everyone.
Thank you, Jason.